Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought provoking conversations. After 9 years of silence, businessman Vijay Mallya, who's been residing in United Kingdom since 2016, has finally spoken out in a podcast interview. Now, this podcast interview was 4 hours long, and after 9 years, he has broken silence on many issues, which of course he's mentioned it many times earlier, nothing new, but why he spoke at this moment is important. Now, Mallya has addressed the accusations against him, gave an explanation for his decision to stay away from India, and defended himself against being called a chore in an interview with businessman Raj Shamani, also a YouTuber. Now, in addition, he discussed his legal struggles, the collapse of Kingfisher Airlines, and whether he would think about returning to the nation. He's denied the theft allegations. Then he blames the financial crisis of 2008 for the consequence which was meted out to Kingfisher Airlines. Then on returning to India, he's very, very evasive. But yes, he says that if yes, conditions are made conducive, he might think of returning. And obviously, this interview has set the internet on fire. There have been reactions from Congress, from Lalit Modi himself. But why are people really talking about this 4 hours long podcast of Vijay Mallya? What is the objective of this podcast? Was it a sponsored interview? Was it a stage managed and a well curated interview? And what was Vijay Mallya looking at through this interview? We'll try and discuss all of this. Joining me now this evening is a very special guest. He is a journalist, commentator, and author, Giri Prakash, who's written a book with the title The Mallya Story, the Vijay Mallya Story. And this was a book which Giri Prakash penned in 2014. And of course, now he'll be able to tell us lots about what this podcast of Vijay Mallya looks like or feels like. Thank you so much, Giri Prakash, for joining on HW. And my
Thank
first
you.
question to you is, since you've written the book called The Vijay Mallya Story, which you wrote in 2014, and you would have a clear idea of what Vijay Mallya was all about. And knowing his character, knowing his DNA, why do you think that he gave this 4 hours long podcast today? What was the occasion? Was it a special timing which he was looking at?
Thank you, Neelu. The fact is that he assumed that you know RCB had won the IPL title after 17 years, and he felt that this is the right time to talk about his side of the story, share what he feels about the court cases, about a whole lot of issues about RCB, about cases, why he thinks he's being victimized, and wanted to use this opportunity to clarify a lot of things. Maybe that's the reason which drew him to have this kind of an interview. What is surprising, however, is that he gave the interview to a social media influencer rather than a business journalist. So, but then it's his choice, I assume. So, and of course, the fact that he did this after 17 years. Sorry, he did this after nearly 9 years. It's something that he could have done it a year later after he left the country.
But he's spoken about a lot of issues, and especially, coming as it does when the Royal Challengers Bangalore has managed a stunning comeback, with the match they have won. And obviously, that has set the ball rolling. People are talking about Vijay Mallya, how he was the one who started the Royal Challengers Bangalore, and now it's time for him to remember. So, did he pounce on this opportunity and deliberately got this interview done so that, in the garb of talking about Virat Kohli and several others, he will talk about a lot of many other issues which he has spoken about in this interview. So, was the timing picked on because of this RCB victory?
I assume so. I mean, that's the only conclusion that one can draw as of now. But we'll get to know later whether this was the only reason. But as of now, this seems to be the only reason. And the fact that he used this opportunity, it's something that he had been, I assume, waiting for, and he has done that. So.
But now let's take one by one what all he's spoken about. Now, the first thing which he says is that do not call me a chore. I am not a chore. I'm not a thief. And he denies all the allegations. And obviously, he's not been countered with questions by Raj Shamani as well. How would you counter this? And I want to take all this point by point so that you can rebut and you can basically dissect as to what he's saying and what he meant. So when he says that don't call me a thief, and he denies all the allegations, what does he mean by that, and how much substance do these claims really carry?
He's not a thief. I mean, that's very unfair to say about him. He's not a thief. It's about a business which went completely belly up. Uh, that's a fact. He cannot be called a free. But there are issues. There are bigger issues here. It's about how the money that he got, the loan that he got from a consortium of banks headed by, led by State Bank of India. He used that money, but then in spite of that, the airline went belly up. We should also realize that this happened more than a decade ago, when the entire country was very different, the parameters were different, rules and regulations were different. For any economy, situations like this leads it to make rules and regulations much more tighter. For example, the Harshad Mehta scam. If you look at that, and at that time there were not many regulations. Okay, and therefore, but over a period of time, the economy has grown. At the same time, the regulator, say, SEBI, has tightened a lot of regulations so that such frauds don't take place, right? So that's the reason why. So to call him a chore it would be very unfair to say that.
But this I was reading about the details of this Raj Shamani podcast, which says, and this is how they described the video, that this is a rare and candid interview after 9 years of silence. An embattled businessman, Vijay Mallya, finally speaks out, offering his version of the events that led to the collapse of Kingfisher Airlines and his exit from India. Now, do you think that this was an untold side of Vijay Mallya, which people have not heard? This is how he's put the description of the video as, that this is the untold side of Vijay Mallya's story.
A lot of it has already been told. He has issued press statements. I remember him issuing a press statement, a point by point rebuttal of a whole lot of things that he addressed that letter to Prime Minister Modi. That was long ago, and all this that he has said now is the same thing that he said that earlier also. So there are two aspects to it. Yes, it is rare because this is the first time since he left the country he has talked to someone and officially an interview. As far as candidness is concerned, I assume that he has already talked about it. His court lawyers have also said that in courts. So we all know about the things that he has said. Only two new things that have come out is the fact that he spoke to Pranab Mukherjee, who the then finance minister, who asked him to say that don't scale down your operations, even though he wanted to, and the fact that and later he says in the interview that he should not have gone and met Pranab Mukherjee. He should have gone ahead and sort of scaled down the operations. And he claims if he had done so, Kingfisher Airlines would still be alive. But much of that later, as we go through the interview. But these are the couple of instances that he also said that he met Arun Jaitley, and then there are other issues that he talks about. But these two political leaders have passed. We really can't find out what he exactly said. It's his claim, and that's where it is right now. We just have to believe him at face value.
But do you believe that media has portrayed Vijay Mallya in a negative light? Because during the course of the interview, he says that I became a lightning rod for public anger and people called me by names, abused and misjudged me. But now times have changed. And with this podcast, I finally have the opportunity to share what I truly feel, which I believe has never been truthfully reported. Now, what would you really say to this particular line, which he says that media has always misjudged him? And now, with this podcast, he gets a first time opportunity to put his side of the story.
he portrayed himself as the brand ambassador of all his liquor products of the company itself, of the corporate sector itself, and the fact that a very flamboyant businessman, people waited on him at parties, at public functions. He was also a political leader. He was a member of parliament, and he was a very larger than life kind of person. I mean, you you won't see that in any other Indian corporate, any of these CXOs. You won't even see that in the some of the richest men in the world, like say Mukesh Ambani or the Adani. They keep a very low profile. The fact is that after having done this, and who called him the king of good times? It's the media which called him the king of good times, right? And when things went wrong, they were obviously they brought out a lot of things that went wrong with the company. It is quite natural, you know. While they gave him a lot of bouquets, accolades for doing what he did, when things wrong, it is up to the journalists to find out why things went wrong, and they wrote stories about it.
No, but this Raj Shamani, do you think that he countered with proper questions, or he just wanted to bring Malaya's side of the story? Because he didn't seem to counter the truths and the facts.
He he's not someone who has tracked Vijay Mallya's corporate empire, and so therefore he may not have known a lot of things, and therefore it might have been difficult for him to counter a lot of things which Mallya claimed in the interview. So we got to give him that benefit of doubt. The reason I'm saying, you cannot read up, you cannot do your homework or read up these things, say you on 1 month's time, and then decide to go ahead and have an interview. You need to have a very deeper knowledge. You need to have been tracking him for nearly 10 to 15 years, understood the whole, whatever that is happening, the scenario. Only then you'll have that ability, the confidence to go and
True.
counter whatever Malia is claiming, or it could be anybody else, right? So you've got to give him that benefit of doubt.
But Giri, what is the truth behind the recovery of 14,100 crore from Vijay Mallya? Because he also says that, the decision to speak now came after the Ministry of Finance recently admitted to recovering 14,100 crore from him. Now he says that media can't spin it anymore, and the Debt Recovery Tribunal had declared Kingfisher Airlines owed rupees 4,999 crore plus interest. So he says that as a guarantor, I've already paid far more. So where is the fraud? This is what he says in the interview.
See, the way I look at it is that this was not done voluntarily, right? He did ask for a massive haircut from the bank, saying that I'll return the principal amount,
Hmm.
but he did not talk about the interest amount. And at that time, I don't think the banks could have taken such a massive haircut. And also, why should they go ahead and take that kind of a massive haircut, right? See, when banks lend money, they also expect you to return. They also expect you to do. They put an interest rate on it, and they use that interest rate to lend to others and all that. It's like any other banking business that happens. Now you say you will only return the principal and not the interest, and then you say then you're going to go to London. What will the bank consortium do? They will have to recover the amount. They recover the amount, and the fact to talk about the fact that it was 14,000 or whatever the amount of money that you're talking about. At the end of the day, it is the value at that moment of time, and inflation that catches up with you. The other thing that I also want to say is that the uh, the unconditional offer came after he left the country and he had been declared a fugitive. See, settlement negotiations, please do understand, are during the enforcement action are not acts of goodwill. Okay, they are just like plain legal tactics. So you can't come up with saying that they have recovered more than what was it, what is the process of recovering? That's also more important, right? You can't say that they recovered it. The other thing is the ED, and this is what ED is saying. I'm not saying. ED has made allegations. The CBI has made allegations saying that a lot of fraud happened. The money that the banks lent to Kingfisher Airlines was diverted to buying other assets. I really don't know, but that's what they are claiming it, right? So you need to come up with, for example, you need to come up with evidence. You come up with evidence saying where did you source this money to? Let's assume you buy a yacht or you buy a villa or whatever, like that. So it's not as easy. It's not like plain vanilla kind of thing. It's very complicated. There can't be pat answers for this.
Right. I'll come to a few more political points a little later, but during the course of the interview, he also talks about the humble beginnings. And then he had in the initial years of his life, how he started his journey in Kolkata, and he grew up under a very strict father. He makes a mention of that, who made him work for a monthly stipend of 400 rupees. And then he describes all that in the interview, that he didn't have any fancy toys, no spoiled upbringing, and all this talk about fancy cars is exaggerated. And then he says that I drove a second-hand standard Herald. Would people believe when Vijay Mallya talks about this? What is the truth of his humble beginnings? Did he have such a humble and a down-to-earth beginning as what he has described?
That's what he claims, but it doesn't alter anything at all. If he had a humble beginning, yeah, great. I mean, in the sense that maybe he learned his life lessons much earlier than children of other businessmen did, and I assume from what I've heard uh, that his father, Mr. Vital Malya, was a very upright person, and he was very careful with money. And then please do remember that when you say careful, doesn't mean he was stingy. It means that he built an empire, which he gave to Dr. Malia. And one should not take away credit from Mr. Vital Malia, nor should we take away credit from Dr. Vijay Mallya as well, because whatever that he was handed over, he built it 10 times bigger. Look at the kind of market capitalization. Look at the kind of foray into several other sectors. He, uh, for example, buying Mangalore Chemical and Fertilizers, the kind of acquisitions he did, Shaw Wallace, the airline that he floated, the media empire that he built, and the fact that his liquor business was at one point of time, I'm sure it is even now, the United Spirits market share was around 60%. United Breweries market share was around 60%. 60%. The Kingfisher brand that he personally advertised and was the brand ambassador for that. There was a lot of hard work that went into it, and more than anything else, you got to give credit to him for the fact that liquor business, until he came into being, until he handled those businesses, was seen as something very dark and something that had a very secretive nature to it, and how it funded political parties and all that. He took that out and made it a very respectable kind of brand. He went to IM campus, he went to IIT campus, recruited people. He had a management council which consisted of some of the best brains in the country, IM guys, IIT guys, engineers, and all that stuff. And they themselves, whenever they left the companies, they have themselves become CEOs of other companies. So he ran the ship very well, very professionally. There's no doubt about it,
No,
right?
but was the 2008 global financial crisis the main reason for his airlines to go down? And as he has said, that he went to Pranab Mukherjee, who was then the finance minister. He said he wanted to downsize, but he stopped him from downsizing. He promised that the banks will support him, and that's how the problems began. Now, how much truth to that? Did actually Pranab Mukherjee ask him not to downsize? What is the truth behind it? Now, if he says Pranab Mukherjee is not alive to even counter or admit what he's saying.
So look at it. Let me tell you something. So he may have gone and talked to Pranab Mukherjee, who must have told him that, don't worry, if you reduce your operations, there will be job losses. We'll continue to give you funding. Don't worry about that. I agree. Maybe that is true, but he did downsize. There is a press statement from Kingfisher Airlines around that time saying that they have deferred the induction of 32 Airbus A320 aircraft,
Hmm.
okay, for the next 2 years, and citing that there's overcapacity. One, they said there is overcapacity in the sector. The other thing, they said that they're having problems sustaining their operations, and therefore they have decided to defer buying these aircraft. Now, when you say that you have overcapacity, and then you say that I wanted to downsize, isn't it contradictory statements that you're making, right? Uh, if there is overcapacity and the fact that you're not doing well, and if you say you're not doing well, and then go ahead and then defer inducting aircraft, these are pure, simple business decisions that you're taking, right? After 10 or 12 years or 15 years later, you say that, I should have downsized.
No, but
If
he's
he wanted to
criticized.
downsize, if he wanted to downsize, he could have downsized anyway, because these are business decisions at the end of the day.
Right. No, but he also blames the foreign direct investment, which was not started in time. He says that he had already spoken to Etihad Airways, who was ready to invest in Kingfisher Airlines, but government didn't do that. And it was only after he fled that, the market was open for foreign direct investment. So how much truth to that when he blames the government for its policy on the foreign direct investment?
So let's assume you're playing cricket or you get into a football stadium to play a game. You can't complain saying once you start playing the game, you can't say, you should change these rules. This is not the right thing to do. This is not the way to do it. The other team is also playing the game along with you, which means that there are other airlines which are also playing the game, playing in that sector. It's not that it's only confined to you. There are the same rules and regulations apply to other airlines as well. It is not that there was a bias against Kingfisher Airlines. If they didn't get a foreign partner, the other airline also did not get a foreign partner.
Hmm.
All right. If they did not get certain concessions, the other airlines also did not get certain concessions. Right. So all this happened. You knew the sector, you did a SWOT analysis, you did a business plan, and then you entered the sector. You knew that when it comes to the airline sector, there is very less control you have. You realize that the fuel prices are not something that you can control,
No, but
right?
was it solely because he had a very lavish lifestyle, and people did accuse him that you are uh, uh, actually leaving no stone unturned in living your full lavish lifestyle, but your own employees of Kingfisher Airlines, they are not even getting their salaries. So how much truth to that? That because of his lavish lifestyle and way of living, it's basically the employees were not given justice because of that.
I do agree that employees at the later part did not uh, get their salaries. It was very difficult for them. I do understand that, but he claims that the banks closed the tap, and therefore he could not go ahead and kept continue to pay the employees. But we should also realize that if you do not pay, if you default, the banks will obviously, how long will they keep funding the airline? They have to recover the money, right? You're not returning the money. The questions are going to be asked at the board level, at whatever level, with the finance ministry or the RBI is going to pull you up and say, how come Kingfisher Airlines is not repaying you the money, right? These questions are asked. So based on that, they went and closed the tap. How long do you think you could have gone around saying that they didn't? I mean, you see, please understand, Kingfisher Airlines was being run by Vijay Mallya, not by a consortium of banks. So the onus of paying the salary rests with Kingfisher Airlines and not with the consortium of banks. You need to have your own money. I can't go ahead and run a business on just on loans and then say sorry, I can't pay you anymore. Sorry, I can't
So
repay the loan.
Absolutely. In fact, he also made a mention of how he informed Arun Jaitley, who was a finance minister then before leaving. He said that I went from Parliament straight to finance minister's office, informed him that I'm leaving, and there were no legal orders to hold him back. So he was justifying in a way that he didn't tell. That he did go abroad, but only after informing the finance minister. Now, what is the truth about that? He also talks about how a Congress MP knew about it, and he spoke about it that Arun Jaitley had met Vijay Mallya. Now, I don't think Congress has really reacted to this, except that Arun Jaitley allowed Vijay Mallya to go or let him flee. What is the truth behind that?
He left for London after the banks had moved the Supreme Court to stop him. The CBI had issued a lockout notice, lookout circular, but later downgraded it to report departure notice. But the fact is, CBI actually admitted it was an error, and legally he did not abscond, and all that is there. But as far as what he talked to Vijay Mallya and whether Vijay Mallya gave him the permission to go abroad, but I will not go into all that. What I'll go is by the press statement that he issued. He issued a press statement saying that he keeps going abroad for work, for meeting, for personal reasons and all that, and he keeps coming back. And if there is any court case that is against him, if any of the court summons him to the court, he'll be the first one to come back and then present himself to the court, right? After having said that, he puts out another press statement a month later, I don't, or maybe 15 days later, whatever. He says that I fear that I will get arrested. I fear that there will be harassment. Right now, the fact is that what happened during those 15 days? It's obviously because of whatever the CBI did, the Enforcement Directorate did. But if you're so clear, if you think that you're not defrauded, if you think that that you're not violating any norms, why do you fear that they will arrest you, right? At that time, it was a civil case, right? It was something. It was not a criminal case. He had a battery of lawyers. It's not that he represented himself in the courts. He had a battery of lawyers, and he could have gone ahead and um, defended himself. Some of the best lawyers work for him. Some of the best lawyers in the country work for him. And the government, why did he think that the government would be vindictive,
True.
right? So there are a lot of such questions that go unanswered in the recent interview.
So all in all, does it look? So all in all, does this interview look like a stage managed interview, a PR exercise, or a sponsored interview? And then it goes on for 4 hours. It's not 1 hour or 1.5 hours. It's a 4 hours long interview, which anybody would think that what on earth would he be doing with a 4 hours interview? And why would a YouTuber or why would a journalist interview him for 4 hours? Maybe not in one sitting, in multiple sittings as that interview has been taken. But what has it finally achieved? What has this interview or the podcast finally achieved in terms of what Vijay Mallya wants to tell the people?
I don't know how the social media influencers work, and they have Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and maybe they use it differently at different points of time. I don't know how this entire ecosystem works, but 4 hours is too long. And whatever that you need to say, you can say that in say in an hour's time. That's number one. Number two, what it is set out to achieve, I have no idea. I don't know whether he's building a platform to return. If he's building a platform to return, and if he's now defending himself, and he believes that now the money has been given, And therefore, and there was an interview with the prime minister also who apparently mentioned in that interview, saying that they have recovered more than what was due and all that. So he, I think, believes that he's more comfortable, safe, and he expects, anyway, won't want to return to their homeland, right? So he's always been a Bangalore boy, and why would he want to come back to Bangalore? No, and then RCB has won the IPL. Things he believes, everything is happening right, right. So maybe this is his way of saying that, sort of, let please let your guard down. Let me get my passport. I want to return to my home country. But this is just, I'm just speculating about it. Maybe that's exactly what he wants to do. There is this. Um,
No, but what
uh,
about that $1 million question that will he return to India? Does he want to actually return to India? That's the point.
so the thing is that there was a court case in London, and the lawyer did say that he has sought asylum in London, and that's the reason why even the UK government has been quoting that they cannot say what exactly is the issue, but they are not they are processing his asylum request probably, and therefore that's the reason why they can't extradite him back into India. All right, but it's also up to Dr. Malia in case he wants to come back. He has to, take the asylum request back. He has to make a formal request to the government of India saying that please revoke, please, get my passport back, and then I would like to come back. He needs to do two, three things of these, and probably then he'll be able to return if that is his intention.
Well, we do not know what the real intention behind is, but whatever he has spoken in this interview are many, many things which he has already spoken about, and it has been mentioned earlier. But did he pick on the timing, which was so appropriate after the RCB victory? That's what everyone is talking about, and he's chosen the right moment to talk about himself, to talk about politics, talk about his intentions of whether he wants to return to India, and also talk about the powerhouse called Virat Kohli. He also spoke about that as well. So maybe he's chosen on a perfect timing to give a peek into his life and what he wants and how to clarify himself again. And after also having broken his silence after 9 years. Thank you so much, Giri Prakash, for joining on HW. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much.